That was just my signal on my phone to silence it. It's good to have you here. Thanks for being here this morning. We're going to start off with a few public hearings and also with some special service districts that we need to go through. There's a number of them. And so the very first one on the agenda is our Road Special Service District, Utah Valley Road Special Service District. And we'd like to open up a public hearing on that. And with the public hearing, there's the ability to speak to this issue. If there's any in the public who would like to speak to our Utah Valley Road Special Service District. Seeing none, then a motion to be in order to close the public hearing.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to close the public hearing. All in favor say aye.
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 Aye. That passes 3-0. And by the way, on our up here for the Special Service District is myself, Commissioner Lee, Brian Thompson, and Kim Jackson. So on our agenda, we have two items. The first one is to approve the minutes of the October 24th meeting. Any questions to the minutes?
Nope.
Nope, I move that we approve the minutes of the October 24th, 2017 meeting.
I'll second that.
We got a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the October 24th meeting. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That passes 3-0. Second is to adopt a resolution adopting the budget, the 2018 budget for the Utah Valley Roads Special Service District. That those numbers are total revenue, $795,925, with expected expenses being the same, $795,925. Any questions or concerns with that?
Nope. I'll go ahead and make a motion that we adopt the 2018 budget for the Utah Valley Road Special Service District.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt the resolution as stated number 2 on our regular agenda. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That passes 3-0. Thank you. Oh, we need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That passes 3-0. Thank you. We'll do some transitioning now. We'll go to our Municipal Building Authority. Mr. Graves is calling in. Okay. Not for these. Okay, very good. All right, welcome to our Municipal Building Authority meeting. And on the schedule is a public hearing to discuss the 2018 budget for the Municipal Building Authority. And we will open that meeting now for any public comment. Any public comment? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Have a motion to close that.
Move that we close the public hearing for the Municipal Building Authority.
And with two of us here, Commissioner Ivy here and Commissioner Lee, I will suspend the rules so that I can second that. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That passes 2-0 so we're now out of the public hearing, moving to our agenda. 3 items on our agenda. The first one, I'm gonna put the first one and second one, if you're okay with that, Commissioner, on to approve the minutes. Any questions on number 1 and number 2?
Had no questions.
Okay.
I will make a motion that we approve regular agenda items number 1 and 2.
And I'll second that. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That passes 2-0. Number 3 is to adopt a resolution adopting the 2018 budget for the Municipal Building Authority. The total revenues is $336,332, with expected expenditures at the same $336,332. Any questions or
No
concerns?
questions.
Okay.
I will propose a motion to adopt the resolution adopting the 2018 budget for the Municipal Building Authority of Utah County.
And I'll second that. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That
Motion-
passes 2-0. You know what? I probably skipped on the one for public comments on the last meeting. Is there any, if there's any public comments for both, you're more than welcome to come up and speak to that. Seeing none,
Motion to adjourn?
okay, we will adjourn. See, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That passes 2-0. All right. Let's move now to the Board of Trustees, Service Area Number 6. And on our, let's see, for a public hearing, we have the ability for anybody to speak to this issue. Any thoughts there? Seeing none, if we could,
Move to close the public hearing?
and I'll second that. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We've now closed out of the public hearing, moving to our agenda. On our agenda is 2 items. The first one is to approve the minutes of the October 24th. Any questions or concerns?
Nope.
Seeing none, a motion to be in order.
I move that we approve the minutes of the October 24th meeting for the Utah County Service Area Number 6.
And suspending the rules so that I can second, I'll second that. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That passes 2-0. And on number 2 is to adopt the resolution adopting the 2018 budget. This is for service area number 6. It has $3,466,000 in projected revenues with projected expenses at $3,466,000. Any concerns or comments with that?
Any questions?
Seeing none, a motion?
I'll move that we adopt the resolution for the 2018 budget for the Utah County Service Area Number 6.
And I will second that. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That passes 2-0. Are there any public comments? Seeing none, a motion to be in order to close the
Move
meeting.
to adjourn?
Second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, we're adjourned from that meeting. Okay, service area number 7, the meetings are not, I'm sorry, am I going too fast for this? Okay, I'll slow up so you can switch the recording. All right, we're now in a meeting for service area number 6. We have number 7. We have Commissioner Ivy and Commissioner Lee here at this meeting. And this meeting does not have the numbers yet. It's recommended that we postpone this for 1 week.
Mr. Chairman, should we, can we go ahead and adopt the minutes when we get into that portion of it and then just continue the budget portion?
We could, if we wanted to adopt the minutes, then those can be off. I would assume that we'd have to postpone the public hearing as well, along with the whole.
Yeah.
You could continue the public hearing or not at your choice, but since we don't have the figures, it would be appropriate to
Yeah, I would think. What do you
continue the
think?
public
I would
hearing
prefer
also.
to
Yep.
postpone the public meeting.
So we can, it doesn't matter to me either way. We can approve the minutes if we want to and postpone the rest.
Sure.
Okay.
So I'll move that we approve the minutes for the Special Service Area Number 7.
And suspending the rules so that I can second, I will second that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, that's for items number 1 and 2.
Then I would move that we continue the public hearing and the adoption of the resolution for the pending budget for 1 week.
Second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Is there any public comment to that, what we've done there? Okay. Those are-
Motion to adjourn?
And second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And if we can do the same thing for number 8. Oh, hang on a second, we'll wait for the switch. Okay, now we're in a we're in a meeting for service area number 8. And without some of the information that is needed, we'll look to continue this meeting for 1 week with hopefully approving the minutes for 1 and 2.
So I will move that we approve the minutes as stated on the regular agenda items number 1 and 2.
And suspending the rules, I'll second that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That passes 2-0.
Move that we continue the public hearing and the adoption of the resolution for the 2018 budget for the Utah County Service Area Number 8 for 1 week.
And I'll second that. All in favor, say aye.
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 Make sure no one's here for that public hearing today. If they are, you ought to let them speak.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Is there anybody here that would like to speak to this as we're during the public hearing process? Seeing none, or also now for any public comment at the end? Okay, seeing none, let's,
Motion to adjourn?
second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, that passes 2-0. Last one, service area, number 9, it does have numbers with it. So we will now open up a public hearing for service area number 9. Is there anyone here that would like to speak to that, service area number 9? Seeing none,
Move to close the public hearing?
we'll suspend the rules so that I can second that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are now closed out of the public hearing, moving to our regular agenda. We have 2 items on there. One's to approve the minutes, the other one's a resolution. With item number 1, any concerns with the minutes?
None.
Okay,
I'll move that we approve the minutes, the October 24th meeting is stated in regular agenda item number 1.
and I'll second that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, that passes 2-0. Now we're number 2, to adopt the resolution adopting the 2018 budget for Utah County Service Area number 9. The anticipated revenues are $586,000, and the anticipated total expenditures is $586,000. Any concerns with that budget?
No.
Motion?
I'll move that we adopt the resolution adopting the 2018 budget for the Utah County Service Area Number 9.
And I will second that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That passes 2-0. Are there any public comments to service area number 9? Okay, seeing none, a motion to be in order for.
Motion to adjourn?
I'll second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we're adjourned out of those meetings. Out of that meeting and those meetings. Okay. All right, so we're calling the other commissioner. You want to be a part of this meeting?
Yeah. That's a loaded question.
Talking about,
Say, that ready to discuss, yes. Oh, that one? Yes.
Okay, that was an easier one.
Yeah, that one's the easy one. I'm definitely set on that one. I'm with you.
Thinking ahead.
Hello.
Good morning, Commissioner Graves. This is Renee from the County Commission meeting.
Yep, well, I'm ready.
Excellent. On transition room now.
Okay, Commissioner, can you hear us?
Yes, and you will hear Jingle Bells and Small World in the background. I apologize.
Okay. All right. We are just starting our commission meeting, so welcome to everyone that is here in the room. Thanks for being here. As always, we start with a prayer, reading, or thought, and the Pledge of Allegiance, and we're looking for volunteers who would like to participate with us in that. Okay, which one would you like to do? The prayer? Okay, thank you. Any that would like to lead us in the pledge? Robert? Okay, thank you. Please come forward.
Our Father in heaven, we are grateful for the opportunity to be here, to serve our fellow men, as civic leaders. We're so grateful for the responsibilities that we have and the entrust that we have been entrusted. Father, we ask thee to please bless our leaders, bless them with thy spirit. Please bless this county. Bless us that we can do that which thou hast asked us to do in being good stewards. And we ask and pray for this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Please repeat after me the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Commissioner,
Yes.
take it away.
So, welcome, and as always, the first of the month, it's our opportunity and privilege to recognize employees of Utah County who have done an outstanding job in their services to this community. And to start off with, on today's Employee of the Month, I'm going to read a little story. And this comes from the person who nominated this individual. It states, I recently had a conversation with my sister, and she asked me if I had been involved in the high-profile case that has made national news regarding two parents from Elkridge that were arrested for rubbing pain medication on their newborn baby's gums to hide withdrawal symptoms from the hospital staff. I told my sister that I had been involved because the case was investigated by a deputy that I work with. I told my sister that the said deputy went above and beyond what other patrol officers might do because the case became personal when Mortensen found out the children had tested positive for drugs. My sister stated, quote, "It is good to know that there are police out there that really care, and they aren't just at work to collect a paycheck." This statement really sums up how Deputy Mortensen goes about his job. He cares. Deputy Mortensen has been my go-to guy since he came to our patrol team. Over the past 2 months, he has had several notable cases that he has put in extra effort. Besides regular calls for service, he has been proactive and made a DUI and several drug arrests. Recently, he was working an overtime shift for coverage in Eagle Mountain. He took a report of a family member writing fraudulent checks. He investigated further and even had to write a search warrant for Wells Fargo Bank to give him any information. The subject was located by the family the next day, which was Mortensen's day off, to book the suspect on the charges that he had on her. Mortensen investigated a shooting in Spanish Fork Canyon, where he did an excellent job. He made an arrest on Sandy Beach and has made multiple warrant arrests. Mortensen has also been called a few times to Utah County Jail to assist them with different assault investigations, which have ended with multiple felony assault charges. I'd now like to explain the Elkridge case further. In June, Mortensen was called to the house by a family member because the family member had been inside the home and saw drug paraphernalia. Mortensen seized the environment and wrote a search warrant for the house. After finding drug paraphernalia, Mortensen interviewed both parents and filed charges. He got DCFS involved. The children were taken by DCFS and drug tested. Mortensen kept in contact with DCFS to make sure that the kids were taken care of. At the same time, Mortensen was taking calls from other concerned family members. The family was telling Mortensen that the parents were out of jail and using drugs again, and Mortensen went above and beyond and found enough evidence for another search warrant. That same day, Mortensen got the warrant, rounded up help, and served the warrant. Evidence was found again, and Mortensen interviewed the parents. This is where the charges came for rubbing the pain medicine on the baby's gums. On July 22nd, 107, I received an email from Sergeant Cannon. Sergeant Cannon explained that a citizen, Mr. Parkin, had called in to compliment how helpful and professional Deputy Mortensen was when Mr. Parkin had questions. I received another compliment from Sergeant Adams, who took another compliment regarding Deputy Mortensen and the extra effort that he put into the case. Justin Mortensen deserves to be recognized for not only his professional and hard work, but his willingness to go above and beyond the call of duty to protect the citizens of Utah County. Congratulations to Deputy Justin Mortensen on being Utah County's Employee of the Month for December.
All right, Deputy, come on up here. Oh, no.
I'm so sorry.
I am smiling, so I'm ready anytime.
The ghost.
Congratulations. Thank you. Glad I turned one for pictures.
Would you like to say a few words?
No, thanks, I'm sorry.
It was your chance. Thank you. Okay, now we turn to our agenda, and if I could, without dissent, I would like to rearrange the agenda, taking item number 1 on our regular agenda and moving it to next, and then we'll move into our public hearing. Is there any concern with that, Commissioners?
None.
No.
Okay. So with that, and then we'll organize afterwards. So if I can have those from Neaters that are here, if you'd come on up, stand around the podium. There's a proclamation. There's a proclamation that we have to declare December 2nd, 2017. And please give us your names. It's the
Gary Worthington.
Gary Worthington and
Colleen.
Colleen. Okay. Thank you for being here. As the founders of Neaters.
Yeah.
And we have this proclamation that talks about the celebration 20 years. It's the 20th anniversary. And you've been here, you're one of our, you're homegrown, and in many ways, homegrown. We love Neaters, I love Neaters. It talks about the different stores, 59 now across 59 different stores. And goes on, talks how you do it and fresh and from scratch, make the delicious meals there. And so we're glad that you're here. We're glad that you have, as one of the backbone industries in which is small business. You know, you started here in Utah County, and you made this your home, and now you're expanding out, and it's good to have you here. And we'd like to proclaim December 2nd. I know it's not December 2nd, it's not future December 2nd, but it does match up with the anniversary. And so we'd like to, as a Board of Commissioners, now that it was on consent to do so, declare December 2nd, 2017 as Neaters Day. So thank you.
Thank you.
Also, we'd love to have you say a few words.
Glad to. As you indicated, we are local. We have lived our entire married life in Utah County. We started our business here because of the business climate. We had opportunities to go elsewhere and decided we didn't want to do that. And we're very appreciative for all of our wonderful customers and for the relationships that we have, both with government and private, and the acceptance we've had with that and the ability to actually have a business and function without much interference. We're grateful for that. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Once you turn this way, there's some cameras that want this picture. You guys stand in the middle. Right there? You guys, you know what? You see the light better than we do.
Photographer determined which one.
Thank you. That's a wonderful thing, you know. It's the backbone of our economy, small businesses here in this county. I think that's fantastic. Plus, their food is phenomenal, isn't it? It's great. Oh, fantastic. Okay, thank you. All right, let's move to our public hearing. With our public hearing, and then we'll organize our agenda. The public hearing is to discuss the 2018 budget for the general fund and other budgetary funds, recognizing that we are more than likely going to postpone this to next week and continue it. But just in case there's anyone here that came today specifically to speak to these, to the budget, I didn't want to give up that opportunity. So we'll open that public hearing today, and we'll also have it on for next week as well. Is there anyone here that came specifically to speak to the budget today? Okay, seeing none. Oh, you do? Okay. Come on up.
Raphael Millet, Utah County Recorder's Office. I'm wondering if you are open to questions here in this public meeting about the budget.
No, this public hearing is to hear.
Okay, so
Yes.
you are not open to questions again, is that correct?
Yeah, this is a hearing to hear the
Okay,
concerns that you may
That's what I
have.
wanted to ask.
Okay.
Yesterday, for the record, Commissioner Lee, on a public meeting, this again is on the YouTube channel for Utah County, does not want to answer questions on the record in a public meeting with the employees. He refuses to do so.
Not a true statement, but nevertheless, you can say that all you want.
Do I have an opportunity here on the record to ask you questions regarding the budget?
I'm
When
pretty sure.
can I do that on the record?
You know what? Let's get to our.
I'm just asking, when can I?
My door is always open for.
No, on the record.
I'm not sure what you're trying to accomplish.
I'm
by-
asking you, what questions can I ask on the record? You're
Well,
saying
for the
it's
public
just a public hearing.
For the public hearing, we hear your comment. When we actually do the budget item on the agenda, you will be allowed to come up and address that agenda item and ask specific questions on the budget, if that helps. answer your
Yes, we
question.
can make comments, Greg. I understand that.
Oh, we'll answer all the questions because the budget's going to be very open, because when we tried to do it last week, we decided that it was going to be 100% done open in commission meeting. And so next week's commission meeting will probably take 6 or 7 hours, but that's what we decided.
Okay, so you are deciding then next week. Is that correct?
That's what I was told before I came
Okay,
down to
then
California.
I will hold my comments then, and I will ask questions again next week.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Yeah, unfortunately, there are processes that we have to go through, and this hearing is to hear, and then we have the opportunities later on to discuss. Any other public comments that we have for this hearing? Seeing none?
Move that we close the public hearing?
Well, let's see. We want to
Second.
continue.
Or continue that, that's right. I'll move that we continue the public hearing for 1 week.
Second.
I got a motion and a second to continue the public hearing for 1 week. All in favor, say aye.
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 Just for clarification, that would be till next
Next,
Tuesday
Tuesday.
morning at 9 a.m.
Yes,
yes.
correct.
at this location.
At this location, yes. Okay. All right, thank you. We will now move to our, did I announce that was a 3-0? If I didn't, that was 3-0 on that vote. We will now move to our regular agenda. On our consent agenda, we have 28 items. It's been asked that we pull off number 2 for discussion. And if we can hold number 19, 20, and 21 for discussion. Any others from our consent agenda?
None for me.
No.
Two
Okay.
was it for me.
All right. And then going to our regular agenda, we've already taken care of number 1. So everything will go on consent except for what we are pulling off to put on discussion. Number 7, if we could hold that one. Number 8. Number 10, 11, 13, and 14. 14, I'm fine with leaving that on consent as long as we understand that the numbers might be just slightly different. Maybe we should, well, let's just hold that one for discussion. Any others, commissioners?
Not having my document in front of me, what is 14?
14 is the one that deals with, it's approve and authorize the commission chair to sign a coverage application and insurance
Oh.
coverage general term sheet.
Yeah, I was okay with that one staying on consent, but that's fine.
Yeah, there's just some numbers that have come in that are a little bit new that I think we need to address. Okay, any others?
No.
All right. Let's go back to item number 2 then. Number 2 is to approve the county holiday schedule for 2018. Any discussion on that?
Yeah, so just matching what was talked about and unanimously decided by all elected officials in our elected officials meeting, we had talked about trying it this year, adding Christmas Eve, the Monday, to the calendar and removing the personal preference day. That was what was discussed, so that's why I'm wondering why that schedule didn't appear that way. I know this has been the traditional schedule, but it was made known, and so it would be my motion that we adopt that since it was unanimously decided by those and also other department heads that aren't elected that were appointed that also were in agreement with that.
Okay, I was the one that asked that this kind of be put on for discussion purposes. There were some other possibilities. I'm not opposed to that. I think that there's some opportunity to look at Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve as potentials, and maybe with the sheriff's department and the deputies where they're 24/7 and some don't get the opportunity to use that we could have some flexibility on one or the other day so that they actually get to use the holiday as well. That was kind of my thought. So it'd be nice to have some discussion on it. Cammie, did you?
I did have some comments about the personal preference. Typically, governments provide a personal preference day, a floating holiday, to allow for religious worship or holiday worship that's not Christmas or Christmas Eve, or to take it for a holiday that's personal to them. The feedback I've received from employees is they would not want to get rid of their personal preference day. I know that the sheriff's office had some issues that we were able to work out yesterday with you losing their personal preference and some misperceptions about being able to use it, being shorted on pay. And I think we have those worked out so that they don't feel that they're punished per se for taking a personal preference day and letting it go to waste. I would look at amending the policy to be able to have employees attach it to a work schedule as if they're working, if that's something that you want to do or the direction you want to go in. But my recommendation would not be to get rid of personal preference.
Okay. Any thoughts?
Well, I just would like to know why in the world we waste our time in meetings. We discuss these things at 3 different elected officials meetings if we're never going to do what we say we're going to do. I mean, this is getting beyond ridiculous. That's the problem. We have these. We all agree as commissioners to talk to our portfolios. I talked to everybody in my portfolio and unanimously agreed. At our last elected officials meeting, we discussed and everybody said, yeah, what a good year to try it. Part of the other reason is because we also know that the county employees feel unfair, some of them, and mistreated because there are several departments that are sending their employees home automatically on Christmas Eve without using the 4 hours from commissioners, without using personal preference day, without using anything other than the discretion of the department head to send them home. And so we're leaving skeleton crews and punishing some that follow the rules and some that don't.
Okay,
Okay.
thoughts, Commissioner?
I mean, I like the concept of a personal preference day. I also think it makes sense to have the opportunity on Christmas Eve to at least have a half day or full day. We have some department heads here. I would be curious to have some input from them if there would be any who would be willing to share their thoughts there on that.
Amy Taylor, HR, I can share that for my office. Last year we closed for half the day to the public, but employees were able to either work extra hours ahead of time in order to leave early on Christmas Eve, or they could use vacation to do that. So that's what we've done in my department.
But see, that's the unfair treatment I'm talking about to the other departments, because there are departments that by statute, by state law, have to stay open when published, when the county publishes them as proper business hours, that we don't have that option. So it is nice that a couple of departments don't get to. This is what the sheriff's office is always referring to. The commission gift, for example, of the 4 hours of holiday, most of their department doesn't get to use it, and it's become a sore subject for them anyway. So this is, again, what I'm talking about. We already live in a double standard. So I guess we should just get rid of personal preference and not have Christmas Eve and force everybody to work on the days unless they take proper days off anyway.
Well, no, and that's why I wanted to kind of explore that, you know, that Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve day, because I'm sure the sheriff's department can say, okay, you have one or the other. That way they get an opportunity to take some sort of leave on that. It's not unfair. That was kind of the reason why I thought it'd be nice to talk about this and see
I
what we
guess
can
I'm
do.
just confused why you didn't bring this up when we talked about it the other 3 times at these other meetings. That's what I'm confused about. This is until last night when I called you, that was the first time I'd ever heard that. And we talked about this numerous times.
Yeah, because it really, after talking with some of the deputies and others about it, it didn't come about as a discussion topic until just recently.
Okay, so my point being is if we're concerned about the deputies in this case, then why does the commission continue to give a 4-hour gift that most of the deputies can't use? If we're going to give a gift to be fair to everybody, for example, then we should give the cash equivalent because of the 24/7 for the same argument that we're making on why we should do this way to help the deputies. Then we should give them that can't use our 4-hour gift ever and give them the cash equivalent if we want to be fair.
To clarify, that is what we do. They're allowed to tack on their holiday gift to go above their regularly scheduled hours for that particular item. For personal preference, the deputies in enforcement felt that they were being cheated because past practice has always been to not allow them to use their personal preference to go above 80 hours. So they're regularly scheduled for 84.25 or 85.75 if you're on corrections or enforcement. That's your regular schedule. But if you use personal preference in a biweekly period, you were not allowed to go above 80. That has been rectified. It was rectified with the time entry agenda item that we clarified, and that we eliminated if we're paying out personal preference as a vested right to terminated employees. We've made it so that employees who still work here get that same vested benefit, and they're able to use it in order to get to their 86 hours. So they're not punished per se by it being 6 hours short on their pay stub if they use personal preference. And we
But you just said 86 hours, right?
I said 86 hours, and I met with all
Okay.
the chief deputies yesterday.
So then let's go down this path too. Then we also have a whole bunch of deputies that are mad because what is our URS contribution to the deputies? Our URS contribution to the deputies from the county is 85 hours. So we're already cheating them 1 hour
It's
per
almost 80 hours.
pay period. So we can sit here and pretend that we're not cheating people, but we are. And it's up to us to fix all of these.
So right now, we're talking specifically about holidays. The URS issues we can address in administrative.
Right, but the
meeting
answers I'm
on
being
the
given
agenda.
are because we don't want to screw over the deputies. I'm here to tell you, we've been screwing them over as a county for many, many years. So you brought up the fact that they work 86 hours, yet we, for some reason, only give them URS contributions at 85 hours, yet we're trying not to hose them. Then we give a 4-hour gift pay that we do, that the sheriff himself has told me his guys aren't allowed to all use. And because of the budget constraints they get under, because we also have the unfunded mandate of the retirement that we take out of his budget, they don't allow everybody to use them. Those are at the discretion of the department heads, and because of what the sheriff's budget looks like, he and all of his deputies are not allowed to use the same treatment and benefits that the rest of the county gets to use.
So I would clarify that the URS is 80 hours that we pay on, but it's a separate issue from the holiday and the personal preference. The sheriff is budgeted at 86 hours per employee. So our policy is that employees can use their leave. The policy is written except for vacation and comp time. They can't exceed 86 hours, but they can use sick leave, they can use vacation, they can use comp time and personal preference holiday gift to get up to that 86 hours that they're regularly scheduled, so that by taking leave, they're not shorted that benefit of being able to substitute leave for regular hours worked. And I met with all the chief deputies yesterday and we clarified that. There was some misunderstandings, but as far as I know, we've remedied that.
Okay, well, let's move on. We know how this vote's going.
So, this thing can be worked on over the year. It's not like this is one
Well,
and
again,
done.
why would we waste
I don't-
any more time? We've already talked about it for 3 months. So let's just move on, adopt the calendar, and let's be done. Let's quit wasting time and let's just move forward.
We've got a few others
Few
who'd like
people
to
would like to speak.
speak.
Mike Forsey.
Apologize, I can't see, obviously.
Yeah, that's okay. This is Mike Forsey from the Sheriff's Office, and since we're coming up a lot here, I'll address some of our issues. In the past, what has happened with the personal preference day is it's not a holiday. The people that work the 24/7 shops, if they work on Memorial Day, they get paid 8 hours, plus the 12 hours that they work for that day. So in essence, they're getting 20 hours of straight pay for that holiday. The personal preference day in the past has not been like that. It's only been able to use if you've taken the vacation and take the time off. The idea of putting it on the other side of Christmas made it a holiday, so that if someone was actually working that day, they would get the 8 hours of pay for it. That was what we considered the fair thing to do. If you want to make this a personal preference day, make it a holiday a pay that a deputy could put in a day for 8 hours, but still work it, which puts it up to 20 at straight time. That would be if you're talking about adopting something like that still has that personal preference day, so that people that necessarily don't have the religious connotation to Christmas can have the other day that they can take off. That's fine, but for us, it's really hard if it's not a holiday to actually get the 8 hours for it, and that includes the
A 4-hour gift.
4-hour gift. If it was done that way, then we wouldn't be penalized for it. They just may not be actually taking a day off, but they would actually be getting it just like Memorial Day, the 4th of July, the 24th of July, those holidays that we have to man. And we are getting paid for those. It's just at straight time. So it could go either way in doing it, but if we were allowed to actually say personal preference and the 4-hour gift is paid, and you could mark it on your or on your timesheet and get paid for it, even if you work that day, then that would be fair for our department.
But
Questions
see,
to
we
that?
don't do that because the gift that we give actually is cost the county nothing, and that's why we give it, because it doesn't cost us a dollar. It's just an opportunity to give 70% of our workforce a gift and forget the other 30%, unfortunately.
Well, that would be the fair way on both sides. If you don't want to do the holiday after Christmas that was discussed in the department head meeting, that's kind of where we went with it, so.
So Mike, on this schedule as it's currently presented, what would your suggestion be for the sheriffs?
The
From the
sheriff's
sheriff's
office would be
perspective.
to allow the personal preference day to be used as a holiday
Okay.
and put in as 8 hours of pay, even if it was worked.
Okay.
And that's a policy decision that is a recommendation. We can change our rules and regs based on what you'd like to do.
So this adoption with the change in the reg would address your issue.
So you'd keep the holiday schedule the same, it'd be a changing our rules and regs.
It would be a changing of
To
our
make
rules and
it
regs to
equitable
allow to be
and
paid
fair.
out
Yes.
and to allow the
could
sheriff's
do that.
office autonomy to be able to say, this is the day you can use personal preference, or change it so personal preference hours can be paid out and
And
schedule
still
it how they
worked,
want.
and still worked. Is that like?
It's a change in
I'll go back and
philosophy.
say, on a work day on the 4th of July, they work 12 hours and get 8 hours of straight time pay, so they literally get 20 hours of pay that day that they worked the 4th of July. So if that was able to be done with the personal preference day, then they can take it whenever they need. And if they literally did take a vacation, they could throw it in a vacation, and that would be up to them to use it whenever they want it, but it wouldn't penalize them for not being able to use it because of the 7 shot.
Sure.
Not being able to take it off.
Okay, Richard, looks like Richard wanted to.
Nelson Public Works Director. We have a similar situation on a lot smaller scale than what the sheriff's office does, but with our buildings crew that's on call and our roads guys that are on call, at times we wind up plowing snow on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. And it seems like we do quite frequently, but similar type what Mike's already discussed. We do have a fair amount of people who take Christmas Eve as their personal preference day, or with the gift hours and a combination of that and some vacation hours. So we have a fairly light crew on that day, with the exception of if we have.
So you'd be in favor of adopting the holiday pay schedule, what do they call
Holiday
it?
schedule.
Holiday schedule,
but we
but
need to make the
changing
tweak.
the rules and
I like
regs.
the suggestion that Mike had
Okay.
on changing. I think that would be good.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Robert Stevens. I live in Provo. You want the best of the best employees. You want employees who are dedicated to a cause. They're here, even though they can work in industry, they're here because they want to be here. And there's been a movement in high tech where you give employees unlimited. They can take off any time for however long they want within reason. And that seems to attract the best of the best employees. They work the hardest, and they to produce. Maybe you're bound by certain laws for the state or for other associations or organizations, but I'd like you maybe perhaps to go consider that. And I think in the long run, it'd be better for the county. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, good discussion. It seems from just the sense that I get from it that it'd be advantageous for it to adopt this holiday schedule and then look at the other rules and regs
We
in the
need to make
future.
some changes on those.
And you get some proposals with that and, okay, work with the sheriff's department, great. Any other concerns, comments? Okay, a motion to be in order.
Move that we approve consent agenda item number 2.
I'll second for moving it.
I've got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Aye. It's ridiculous that we continue to pass things without rules being in place to properly do the right thing. That's the reason for the negative vote.
Okay. So that passes 2 to 1. Commissioner Lee and Commissioner Ivy on the affirmative, and Commissioner Graves in the negative. Okay. Oh, okay, let's bring that up. So there was some, there was a couple questions that came up with 19, 20, and 21. Dave and I were looking them over this morning, trying to see if we were missing something on them. And part of the concern was that it looked like 21 did not have a declaration of surplus, where 19, or number 20 had a declaration of surplus. Renee is saying that it's in 20 and 21. We've always, declared them as surplus first, and then moved to the adoption of resolutions. Is it all right to leave it the way it is, or maybe strike number 19 and go with 20 and 21? That's the question. And maybe while they're looking that up, just for my clarification, the individuals that are receiving this gift, are they retiring? Are they both retiring at 20 years? Is that?
One is retiring, and one of them is gone past 10 years, and that's when we allow them to take a weapon with them. So they're leaving with more than 10 years of service.
And they were both issued
Yes.
firearms?
Yes, yes. So one is more than 10, the other one is retiring and leaving and going to the URS system.
So the one that is 10 years, I think in our policies it says 20 for the $300 gift. That was the question that I.
And we
I
have
had with
always more than 10 years allowed them to maintain their service weapon if they leave in good standing with more than 10 years.
Okay. My only concern was just that in our policies it says 20 years for a $300 gift from the county, and so that was my question. I don't know if we have problems.
Retirement, retirement one would be,
That's
a slam
that's
dunk.
Deborah
Yeah.
Workman, and
Which one is that one?
would be.
21.
Is that 21's?
Deb, correct? Deborah Workman, correct?
Yes. Yes.
And so is it fine that on that one, we're not declaring any surplus
The
on 20
the resolution also declares it surplus.
as a surplus, so we're fine if we
Yeah.
were
Yeah.
to adopt that resolution? And then strike, as I'm seeing it, strike number 19 and continue number 20. That's kind of how
That would be fine.
And we can look into that.
okay. Any other questions on that? Okay,
I'll move that we strike consent agenda item number 19.
Second.
I got a motion and a second to strike agenda item number 19. All in favor, say aye.
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 That passes 3-0.
I'll move that we adopt adopt consent agenda item number 21. Oh, wait, I skipped ahead of myself. Sorry, I got my numbers backwards. Sorry. Move we'll continue consent agenda item number 20 for 1 week.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to continue consent agenda item number 20 for 1 week. All in favor, say aye.
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 That passes 3-0.
And I'll move that we adopt consent agenda item number 21.
Second.
We've got a motion and a second to adopt the resolution as stated, number 21, on our consent agenda. All in favor, say aye.
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 That passes 3-0. Okay. All right, now we're on number 7, to approve or deny a noise variance as requested. And I think Peggy, Bryce, Yeah, if you could speak to this one.
This is Bryce Armstrong, Community Development, pinch hitting for Peggy this morning. So the Utah County Code, under its nuisance ordinance, has a section related to unreasonable noise. And there are certain noise limit thresholds that are established as it relates to the zone that the property is located in, the receiving zone. And there are thresholds that are established for daytime and nighttime. The code provides a mechanism for the Utah County Commission to grant a variance to those limits based on the commission making certain specific findings as found in the code. The applicant, I believe it's Mr. Markadis. I believe he's here and kind of speak a little more to his specific request, but as we understand it, there's going to be a private birthday party in the Sundance area. There's some maps shown where this is this weekend, I believe, and I believe there's going to be a band inside, and there may be some noise that spills out, and so Mr. Markadis is trying to utilize, doing his due diligence to ask for a variance, and has made some has some mitigating measures that have been made that he may have specified in your backup, and he can allude to. So that's kind of the nature of it.
I'm impressed that he even has, thought about this.
So are we. It's our first time we've had this.
Yes, is he here? Most of the time, people just do it and then say, okay.
Yeah, he had indicated he would be here. I know I haven't seen him. A gentleman stepped out, and it might have been him, but there are some backup. There's some backup information, as I understand it. They've secured some of the surrounding homes and have a lot of equipment that tries to tone the noise down and such. So,
yeah, I was impressed.
Yeah, and the one thing I did notice, his original request was to have it end at midnight, and then I think the nature of some of the guests getting there late or something, he may want to have that extended till 1 a.m. if there is a variance granted. So I'm kind of winging it here. I thought he'd be here. So
Yeah, that was kind of the one question I had after reading through the documentation was, is it a midnight finish or a 1 o'clock finish?
I think it was originally midnight. I think they can live with that, but I think, as I understood it, they would like to maybe have that go till 1 to accommodate some out-of-town guests.
Okay. Any questions on that?
No.
Okay. A motion would be in order.
So I do need to state that I'm just guessing because I'm not there. Mario Marquez is such a unique name that I'm guessing this is the same young man that I went to school with. So I do need to declare that there's a potential that I know him, but I will motion that we approve this agenda item.
I'll second that.
Okay, I've got a motion and a second to approve agenda item number 7. Oh, or till 1? Is that your what's your motion in the way of the time?
Till 1 a.m., yes.
Till 1 a.m. And you're fine with the second on that? Okay. All in favor of approving that?
Just
hang on
clarification,
one
we'll need to adopt those findings also, part of the backup documentation.
Okay, I'm about to probably lose you guys as far as.
You want,
We just need
we
to.
just insert?
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I can't see the findings, so how about we let Nathan make the motion? I'll
Okay.
do a second.
I'll move that we approve the noise variance request as stated in regular agenda item number 7 with findings noting that the end time is to be 1 a.m.
Second.
Yeah, I got a motion and a second to approve the variance as stated, number 7 with the findings. All in favor, say aye.
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 That passes 3-0. All right. Neil, is Neil here? Number 8 is to approve and authorize the commission chair to sign an agreement with number 2 to agree with a state contract. And this is for a database, statewide centrally pond property database. It was continued from November 28th. I can't remember why we continued this one.
We continued it because we were we were working with the state on numbers as far as the costs for 2018. We have resolved all of those issues, and the current numbers that are in the contract work fine for us. So that was the only issue that we continued. We were in the middle of working through that last week.
Okay, and so you're fine with
Yes.
where it's at now, okay.
Fantastic. I'll move that we approve and authorize the commission chair to sign the amendment number 2 as stated in regular agenda item number 8.
Second.
I got a motion and a second to approve and authorize the commission chair to sign the agreement as stated in number 8 on our regular agenda. All in favor, say aye.
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 That passes 3-0. Okay, number
Okay, I'm
10.
losing bars. So
Find a spot if you can. We're getting to the budget portion and the
well, yeah,
market.
I will try and get back in, but
Okay.
since I was told that we were not going to adopt any of these and we would discuss them next week, I'm not real concerned because that is what you conveyed
Right.
to me last night.
Right. I mean, there is opportunity for discussion today.
Sure.
On some of the items. If you can, stay.
It's a moving committee.
Okay.
Moves me out of
Number 10 is to approve and accept a proposal for the compensation market study. And number 11 also has to approve one option presented. We're not ready for these. We still have some numbers that we need to get on them. And so is there any comment to this market study? Yeah, it did seem like a duplicate.
That
although we
was,
had them both
so,
on.
so I had a question, and Dave, maybe you could address this. Could you explain a little bit the difference between 10 and 11, if there is a duplication there, or why they're specifically separated?
I can, they're mine. One
ahead.
is for the salary schedule and ranges, and the other is for the implementation option. So one is to accept the schedule, the grades, and the ranges, and the other one is to determine how you're gonna implement that from one of the 5 options presented. We can combine them if you want, I just didn't know.
It might be better to keep them separate.
Yeah.
I would prefer that we keep them separate. Because they are two very different.
Yeah, I guess when I coming into this study, just as a general remark as to a few places where I'm at on it, first and foremost, from the information that's been provided through the process of the study, it's evident to me that we need to make some adjustments to our salaries, specifically some positions that were definitely noted. And so we've got to be able to identify those and make some adjustments to our employees' salaries as appropriate to keep us competitive in the marketplace. And in the context of that, we came up with a new idea of an entirely new pay scale system. A lot of what I've seen from there I really like, but the merging of these two things has been very problematic. There's some significant concerns I have about a new pay scale and trying to eat the whole elephant in one bite, perhaps would be the way I'd put it. And to me, I almost wonder if it makes sense if we don't start to try and break that out a little bit to where we look at the compensation separately and a whole new pay scale system as 2 different items. Because I think the waters are a little muddied there, and there's some problems that I see affecting tenured employees and new employees with the new system, which is, I think I would like to have resolved, but I like the general concept of the new system. I think it's a lot cleaner, a lot better than the one we currently have, but I think it's very convoluted in the way it's come. So there's kind of my
Now,
general.
I'll echo that.
General thoughts with that.
I've had similar feelings. I know that Cammie's working on trying to put it into our current pay scale right now. Haven't seen the finalization of that yet. That's still a work in progress. But I've felt those same similar concerns, and so I'm glad we'll keep it separate, and we'll work through and see if we will find something that will be workable. I'm hopeful of that. So, any other discussion on that?
I didn't have any.
I would
additional
hope then that we could continue items number 10 and 11 for 1 week.
I'll move that we continue regular agenda items number 10 and 11 for 1 week.
Did we lose you, Commissioner? I will suspend the rules so that I can second that, and I'll second that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That passes 2-0 with Commissioner Ivy and Commissioner Lee. It looks like we've lost Commissioner Graves on the phone. Yeah, try him back, please. Maybe while she's doing that, if it's all right, Commissioner, to look at number 14.
Please leave your message for 80.
So item number 14 is to approve and authorize the Commission Chair to sign a coverage application and insurance coverage, and I have no problems with what we have there. I just got a phone call the other day from Ryan Hatch that said the numbers in our favor are probably a little different, and so I talked with Dave about that, and I feel comfortable if we were to approve this with an understanding that those numbers on the sheets might be just a little bit different, but they could be positive for the county.
Right, the numbers may be reduced slightly, and exceed those amounts.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah, that's,
that way we have the ability to switch it.
when we're not to exceed and we're going down, that's
That's always a
hard to complain about, right?
Yes,
Hello.
Especially when it comes to insurance.
yes.
Down is a good thing.
Hello.
Hi, Commissioner. It's Renee again.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, I'll send you to the room.
Okay, Commissioner, you back?
I'm here.
Okay, we're just looking at number 14. We went past 13 so that we could hopefully get past 14. And this one is with the general term sheet with the Utah Local Governments Trust.
What did we do on the other two?
We haven't, the other two we continued.
Okay.
The 10 and 11 we continued. We'll address 13 in a second. We're on 14 with the general
trust
term
sheet,
sheet.
yeah.
And we just wanted to put a motion in there that we would not exceed the numbers that are in there, but have the ability to go down.
Okay.
I'll move it, we ready for motion? Move that we approve and authorize the Commission Chair to sign the coverage application as stated in regular agenda item number 14, with the note of not to exceed the stated funds with anticipation of lower cost.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second to approve and authorize the signature as stated in number 14 with the not to exceed portion of that. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, that passes 3-0. Now for item number 13 is to adopt a resolution approving the 2018 budget for the general fund and other budgetary funds. And with that one, I know we're not ready for an adoption of that, but here's an opportunity for us to go down and talk about some budgetary functions or budgetary issues that we have.
Well, so I have a question. At least on when I got on, I could not ever see a schedule for the budget. Right? Is that not true? I haven't seen a schedule for the budget.
Right. We don't have.
Okay.
Go ahead, Brian.
So my point is a couple weeks ago I was forced to remove because proper documentation was not following commission protocol. I was forced to remove my agenda item. We struck it because all the documentation was not there. We didn't even have a discussion. So my question is why would we not follow our own rules and protocol? Why would what I want to do be different than what we're going to do here? Again, we had a meeting. We forced everybody out. This stuff's not prepared. We haven't adopted a whole bunch of things. So at this point, it would be my motion then to strike it following what we have consistently done in the commission.
And that would be consistent. I agree with consistency on that. I'm just wondering if we're giving up an opportunity for discussion today, since we didn't do that
What
in our
discussion?
work
The
session.
problem is with no numbers, and this is the problem. How do you have a discussion when there's no numbers? We had a work session where we told people we can't do anything, even though that's not exactly true. And so, again, I don't know how we can possibly have any discussion when there is no numbers to be discussed, because we made it a solid point with everybody to understand that the tentative budget was not a commission budget. That was done by the clerk auditor with his statutory obligation, and that now we had our turn. But we passed when we had everybody there. Now we don't have it on here, so to be consistent, again, we should strike, and I've made a motion to strike this agenda item until it's on there with numbers for a discussion.
Well, we do have tentative budget numbers, and we do have additional ask numbers.
Right, but the tentative budget, you yourself even said to me, this is not our budget. Why didn't we get an opportunity to prepare it? So why would we even pretend to discuss it? If you want to go through the tentative budget, let's go through the tentative budget. We can talk about why certain departments have overtime that you single-handedly went up there to give, but other departments we haven't given, because I haven't been involved in any of those discussions. But yet they appeared in there, and you told me, yeah, I told her to do this and do this. So it wasn't like I wasn't told. I'm not accusing you of that. I'm just saying I wasn't asked.
Okay. So are you opposed to having a discussion on the numbers that we have, not?
Yes, because I was forced to remove mine. And so for the commission to keep its own rules, we should be very consistent and strike this agenda item until we have something worth discussing. Because we have never allowed anybody to meet with us on the tentative budget. Everybody that came in to meet with us on the tentative budget, we said, don't worry, that's not our budget. That's not our budget. We'll have our turn.
Right, so what you're saying then is that you'd like our turn to be next week?
Yes, when we actually have numbers on there to prepare, so that Deneen has time.
Well,
Brian, you have those ready by next week?
Well, we, as you know, are waiting on various things. We prepared today to go ahead and discuss aspects of the budget that would get us further down the road towards the numbers next week. But I will leave that up to you as a commission if you want to discuss those things. That information is something that was put together and emailed to all three of you. And I know that Commissioner Graves, because of his situation, probably hasn't accessed his email since that was sent to you.
Actually, I was up for 4.5 hours last night, reviewing all of it until 1:30 a.m. local time.
So you have seen what was emailed?
I have. But again, that's not the process. We had a work session that I invited everybody to because it was a public meeting for the discussion, because we claim that we want to be open and transparent. And then all of a sudden we brought everybody up there. We put on some dog and pony show. We didn't actually discuss anything. And now all of a sudden we want to discuss it without going through that. That's what I'm not understanding, why we are not doing this. We even said in that open meeting that we would most likely have to continue this because everything wouldn't be in it, and therefore we could discuss it and go line by line on December 12th. But what Deneen was waiting for was, one, to know salary numbers. So we can't even prepare a budget without salary numbers because those have never been provided because they haven't been decided. I mean, there's a whole lot of things. Deneen has also been told the commission that she's frustrated that she can't get actual numbers for benefit numbers put into the budget, even though the open enrollment period is closed. So again, I don't know how we can even have those discussions when all these things are out there. And again, I wasn't allowed to do it, so I don't know why in this case we're breaking commission rules.
We're not breaking.
And we're not being
no,
consistent.
I mean, if we don't have all the numbers, then the work session, we didn't have all the numbers either. So it's a part of, this is a big elephant. We're trying to take little pieces here and there and have discussions about them. And in this meeting, that was what I was thinking, is that we were going to start to have those open and transparent discussions here in our commission meeting, which I've been accused that I'm not, but I'd like to have that here. But I'm hearing that you want to do the whole thing next week.
Well, we can go line by line. I don't care. Let's do it now.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, if I could just respond to some of the concerns that it's been raised by Commissioner Graves. Yes, on Wednesday, we weren't as prepared. Since then, we understand that this is quite a big project. It, of course, I need to remind, it is your budget at this point. Our office has done our duty on the tentative budget, but we're always there to support you and provide the information. And per the direction that we've received since Wednesday, this is the document that you have is some of those line-by-line items that at some point need to be discussed in that open and transparent way. And we are prepared, as far as our office, to go through that with you and just give you insight. Of course, on each of these, it's your decision on what you want to do, but we're available today to clarify some of these. This is not the complete budget. There's still some major things that are there, but if you do want to take this step by step and start with some of these so that you're that much further down the road, then we are prepared to do that. But ultimately, it's up to you as a commission, and if you as a commission
Well, I guess
decide
what
you
I
aren't
don't
prepared-
understand.
Go ahead.
I guess what I don't understand, Brian, is if the commission can't discuss this in a work session, we're not going to make a decision, and everybody in that room and on the phone agrees that it's not ready because there are big issues, then what is the difference? If we can't make a decision, then what is the point of even talking about something until we can actually make a decision? I mean, if we want to go line by line and talk about how certain portfolio commissioners went up and talked to the union and said, add this, like we all do, then fine, let's do that. But again, if we're not going to adopt it, that's the consistency I'm looking for, so that we're not splitting it up. And again, we all understood, because I was very clear in that last commission meeting on Wednesday that fine, then let's do it open, and it will be an 8, 9, 10-hour commission meeting, whatever. That's fine. Trust me, I got the budget numbers in my head. I don't need them in front of me.
Mr. Chairman and Commissioner Graves, I just wanted to say that whatever the wish of you as a commission, we are prepared to provide feedback for your questions if you want to take some of the bites of the elephant today. So I just, at this point, leave it up to you, whatever your preference as a commission is.
Given the documentation that we received today, I do have some questions and things I'd like to talk about. And primarily, I respect Commissioner Graves' comment about consistency and its importance. I also recognize that December 31st comes pretty fast. This is my first budgetary process, but we're already diving into December, and I feel like that a continuance of what was already a frustration for me from last week would just get us closer to the 31st without doing anything. So there are some questions on the documentation that you've provided to us that I would like to talk through today. And that's
Sure,
primarily
you and I share the same frustration
because
from last week.
of the recognizing that December 31st is coming. And in that line, I would have some questions. But
So it sounds like we can at least start.
Okay.
The first question, I'll go ahead and dive into some things in here. I want to actually start towards the end of the documentation that you provided. You've got some estimated salary study impact numbers that I think are significant. It mentions that it does not include the benefits. Do we have an anticipation of when we will have those benefits included in that number?
I have my team working on it right now. They're also running payroll, so it's
Okay. So
we just closed the process out on Monday.
okay, so hopefully by the end of the week?
By then.
minimum?
So I wonder if I could just, Raphael left, and I thought he wanted to speak on this issue.
Mr. Chairman,
I'm just wondering if we shouldn't, are there comments that want to be made?
I
There probably will be after, if we're gonna go line by line, after I get done with something.
Well, that's,
We're
I'm
gonna
just
be here
wondering
for
what
a
our
few hours.
process is gonna be, or do we wanna take comments on a line-by-line basis? Do we wanna take comments at the beginning, at the end? What's your, what do you wanna,
I
how do
think
we
we
wanna
take
do this?
comments all during out. That's what an open process is.
it's gonna,
With
Mike Forshey from the sheriff's office.
Okay,
As I go into the documentation, I have a draft, and it says, see exhibit. There is no exhibit. The email that came out that you have, that probably came out, may have went to the sheriff and not to me. He may have got it. We did talk about this yesterday, as he was headed for Denver, and he said that this was going to be postponed, and that the commission had promised to give numbers that we could see before this. So if you're talking about, Commissioner Ivy, you were just making a comment on a line item and asked Cammy about, I don't see any of that. I don't have any of that documentation. So for us to speak to anything in
Well,
this meeting,
Mike,
I
just so you
can't.
know, that the documentation shows you guys $2.9 million short, as what the sheriff has stated, for what he would require as his statutory obligation. That also still short funding the entire mandate for the unfunded $3 million liability that the county carries for retirement that you guys have been hit with over the last few years. So it's still short funding that.
Yeah, well, and see, like I say, I don't see any of that. So your conversation, I guess my question is respectfully, is your conversation gonna be between you and Mr. Thompson? Because those are the only people that I think have the numbers.
well, we should.
You're right,
we
based on
should
the
have
email I
numbers
got.
out there so everyone can see the numbers, so they know what we're discussing.
I'll say that again?
Well, then I will once again move the motion to continue this item for 1 week because they're not out there. It's just in our email.
Fair, I mean, there's truth to that. I mean, they don't have all the numbers. We don't have all the numbers. So,
Other than
Not,
I'm sorry, I'll come back up to
Yeah.
up to the podium. The only thing we have is the tentative numbers. We have
And
nothing that came out. And that was one thing the sheriff told me yesterday, is that there was a promise by midweek that there would be the newer numbers that would come out, and we would start looking at them. And like I say, to have a conversation now, you can have one, but I think all of the department heads and elected officials in this room have no clue as to what that email says and anything like that, so there's not gonna
Mr.
be.
Chair.
but we're
input here.
feeling our way on this because in the past, none of this ever happened.
Yeah.
There was times in the past in which you didn't even know what your budget was until after the first of the year.
Correct.
And so this is completely new in the sense of, with more numbers, and I like that we have the numbers and that everyone sees the numbers so that we can talk on the same level with the numbers. And hopefully when we get to the end of this thing, there is no confusion on what's in your budget or what's not in your budget, because we've all talked about it all the way along the whole process.
Agreed. Absolutely agree. But I like the way this is going. I am happy for this process. But for this conversation today, I lack any documentation to be able to look or to speak.
So then we would probably, I think, and this is the frustration part.
can I
Do we
make,
feel like we'll have all the numbers for next week? I just want us to, and there,
We can have fake numbers because we still won't have a salary plan. And Denise's been asking for the benefits numbers for 2 months. So it's great that we have this pie in the sky hope to get them by Friday, but we can still plug in numbers and work those in. But we can still have the estimated numbers for that, but we still will never have a salary one until we figure out what we want to do with the salary study.
with the salary study, yeah.
How
With the
about
benefits, we
options
should
and
have that
numbers?
number.
Correct. We
I
just
agree, we
closed
should.
benefits on Monday, so with the new system, getting retirees added, getting retirees doing their elections at a later time, we just closed it on Monday.
See, so Monday then, by what time is a problem? Because here's our problem, and I appreciate you guys working on this, but the reality is Monday, if you guys get it by the close of business on Monday at 5, the reality is the commission meeting is, well, 16 hours later, and all of a sudden nobody has the numbers to review and digest again. And like Under Sheriff Forshee is talking about, they only have a couple $1 million difference in their budget, which is only the statutory obligation the sheriff professes to need to keep us all safe. So we need to at least get out every other number, whether we have the benefits numbers or not, and amend those. I would say for sure by Friday, so that we can get that out to everybody, so they have the whole weekend. They can come and see any of their portfolio commissioners or any commissioners
And it can be
on
published.
Monday.
And so
Yeah.
the public can see it too.
That's right.
You guys will have it and you'll be able to distribute it how you want.
On Friday?
I'm hoping before Friday. We're working on it right now while we try to juggle payroll, try to move through this week.
So the benefit numbers, salary numbers,
Payroll.
and the payroll
That's what we're
numbers.
doing.
And let me just clarify a couple things. There's two big parts to how we're trying to assist you as the commission in helping you finalize the budget. One is we do have the big things, the salary study, the benefits numbers, and all those things that play an integral part in the bottom line. But we also have this document that you ask us to prepare that summarizes all the asks by each of the departments. So this email that's gone out, I need to clarify for all the other department heads and the elected officials, there's nothing on there they haven't seen, because this is just a summary of what they have requested. It's items that you want to address in an open and public process.
Yeah.
And so the understanding we had was just to prepare the spreadsheet, and then however you wanted to go about going line by line. But it's, as you go through, the stuff on here is stuff that the department heads themselves have requested that you provide as additional funding in 2018, or for specific programs that they've asked for. So as far as people not knowing what's on that document, it is a summary of what, so once again, it was just a means to take that portion of the budget and deciding what you wanted to do, if you wanted to start discussing that now. However, I'll just emphasize again, however you want to approach this, if you want to do it in one lump sum in a big, long meeting, whenever everything's all together, we can do that. But as far as the departments go, there's nothing that's hidden on here. I just want to assure that it's their ask just being summarized in a form that you could discuss them today.
Yeah, and I'm not accusing you guys of doing that, Brian. This is not a clerk auditor problem. All I'm saying is that the problem with this is the additional ask. When we literally started on Wednesday morning, the first thing that was said to everybody who was in attendance, again, there's a recording of this, was your tentative budget doesn't mean you're guaranteed anything. So the additional asks were under the understanding that the tentative budgets were already included in their budget. So when everybody found that little nugget out, that changes it for every department, because if they get everything in the tentative budget, those are the additional asks. The additional asks for them are not in lieu of stuff that's already in the tentative budget in most cases. And that's why it's important to get them everything for their whole department to see, not a summary, not just the additional asks, because they don't know. Because, again, I mean, we have an email between the recorder's office where in their normal budget it was there, and then all of a sudden in the tentative budget it wasn't there, even though they didn't request to have the amount changed. I understand stuff like that happens, but the reality is that's the problem, is we need to have everything out there for them to see so they know, because to some departments, $2,000 or $3,000 is huge. To some, they can overcome it very easily.
So I made that statement in that meeting, and
Right.
it's a technical statement in the sense,
Well, it's actually a very true statement, and it's not a punishment statement for anybody.
it wasn't intended as a punishment statement. It was intended as of how the budget process works and how it comes about. In that we, the clerk auditor's office, is the one that prepares the tentative budget. It's not one that the commissioners prepare, and so therefore the tentative budget comes to us as a recommendation of this is the recommendation to find that balance. It's not that it's, and so because it's a tentative budget, it doesn't come to us until after it's been presented to us. And that was just a fact statement of what it is. It wasn't to throw the departments into some chaos with it, just an understanding.
No, but there have been times that tentative budget stuff has been pulled out, and that's what concerns some of the department heads is, you know, that's what they want to make sure is because they consider those all needs to do their jobs, and
Sure.
the additional asks, they consider it as well.
And I wasn't trying to allude that they're not needs.
No, I wasn't.
It was,
I didn't. If it came across that way, that was not my intention of
yeah,
that.
yeah, it was just a recognition of the process in which
Right.
we're in. And so, here's my frustration, part of my frustration, is that when I go through budgets, even on a personal basis, I usually, and I've expressed this before, I usually start with some sort of premise where we're coming from, what the revenues are, what the expectations are, how far we're going to dip into savings, and then come to a certain dollar amount that is comfortable enough. I'm not saying that's the absolute, but comfortable enough to budget to. In this process, it gets confusing to me because you know, we have to have all the information as much as possible so that we can do that, to look at the big picture of what a budget looks like, and then start breaking down into little chunks of how it all fits together. I think Commissioner Ivey said it best a while ago when he said, why don't we just say, here's a pot of money, give it to the departments, you take it from there. Now, that doesn't quite work, but the concept is that we start with chunks of money that work and say, this is what's going to be workable, and then we work with department heads, we work with how we can fit it into the budget, because we can't get everything. There's going to have to be give and take here and there, and that's just assumed as you go through budgeting processes. I do that at home as well. There are things I'd like to have, but maybe we have to plan for the future for it, and so we have to budget it back and forth, and that's where my frustration comes. I would love to see us start with a number, an overall number that we're comfortable with, based off of our projected revenue, some of the reserves that we have, what we're trying to do in the future, and that was the intent of our meeting on the other day, is to try to get to some sort of number that works and then back it in and find how it works with the county, and that's part of my frustration with the budget process.
I do think we have a public comment.
Does somebody want a public comment?
Okay, so motion to continue for 1 week.
Okay.
I will withhold until we get questions.
Okay.
Okay.
And, no, we have the public hearing, which is just the hearing process of it, and then we'll get to our budget, in which it will be, yes, I mean, now too. So if you wanted to, well, we can, we're on that section right now. Yes, we're on that section right now too.
With regards to this, I want to know for the record, do you have the past salary studies?
Do I have the past?
No.
Yes.
No.
I do not. When I went up to HR, I was
I
told
do
I
not.
cannot have them.
I mean, I'm sure. we
Okay,
probably
why
do
does the county not have the past salary studies?
No, they have them. Merritt has them in her office, but I was told as a commissioner I cannot access them. When I went up to their office, they told me they were protected work product, even though I'm a commissioner and I could not have access to them. And I asked
Really?
for the last two. Absolutely,
So why
100%
can't
sure.
the Utah County Commissioners have those?
Well, that's a good question. Why can't I have anything since I represent
I
the
want to
county,
know
but
why.
I'm not-
Why can't they have those on the record?
Like I said, I was told that.
I also want to preface this. Cammie herself yesterday told me that she has not seen those, our HR director.
Not that I haven't seen them. I haven't seen the 2011 one. I've seen 2008, 2014. When Commissioner Graves has requested those, he can come and look at them and have access.
But I wasn't
to-
allowed to take them to my office and make a copy.
Correct. Correct. That would have to go through the attorney's office, and then they would have to take away the stuff that is work product from the third party that we hired.
Except for the commission's the only one that can waive privilege and all sorts of things. So again, a commissioner should not be denied any of this. This has been my frustration, Raphael.
Okay, I understand that, Greg, and this is nothing towards you. This is totally towards Commissioner Lee, and he could have asked that and said that yesterday. Since I was a part of the Benefits Committee, and I have been an integral part in the last 4 studies, projecting these things, and getting salary step included, and what I had Commissioner White do, we ended up getting 5 salary steps. The proposals outside of this were 21 plus to include Arizona, the state of Nevada, Idaho, Colorado. All were included in our prior market studies.
I'm not
Those
sure.
those were included. Well, you say that you do not have those, so you cannot answer. But those were answered then to me, and that was on the record. Do I need to have Commissioner White have come in and be on the record what he did and those things that I sent to him in my research? Do I need that? Because I can get that again for you. But it's part of the record, so let's find it.
Well,
Let's strip it out, whatever you need to with the attorneys, and let's go ahead and have that open. Because the methodology and just including, again, within the state of Utah for our salary study is incorrect.
Well, for the record, I will waive all privilege on that and think they should all be 100% transparent. So my vote is now on the record. You just need one more.
I don't understand why they're withheld in the first place.
I don't
so
either.
I would need to understand why.
I
we
didn't
can't-
ask for them.
I don't understand why we can't access them, so I would need to understand why.
It's
we
the
can't
same. It's the
access
same reason that Victoria yelled at us and told us we couldn't have the current information, and that we yelled at her for a half hour before she finally gave us a snippet of what we could actually see and what we actually asked for in the first place.
I'm having Merritt come down to speak to past practices if you'd like to have her speak to what's been done.
She'll need a dolly. The last one is 4 inches thick. It's huge.
Well, she could give the context.
Raphael, I'm really
But I don't
concerned
have.
about what I have done that, with these past studies that I haven't seen, and okay.
And truthfully,
Sure.
I honestly am not.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
I'm
I
sorry, I
don't-
can't hear
yeah.
somebody speaking.
As a commissioner, nothing is stripped out for you. You can see everything I can see.
Okay.
As long as
And I
we
haven't,
do it
I
with
have not seen
supervision from
them.
the
I will
HR
ask to
office
see
and
them
sit in your
so I can look at them.
You know, if we like, I'm willing to see if Commissioner White is willing to come back and actually give public comment. I know he doesn't have any desire to do so, but I'm willing to ask.
Sure.
Again, what we need though is the record. You need to see those, and so you can be informed.
So what's in them that you?
That's
you
just
know
what you
about?
need to find out.
And quite honestly, I did. And so the last statement Cammie made actually is really offensive to me because I know that nothing's supposed to be hidden from me. But I should not have to sit in an HR office, be supervised. If I want to make copies, I understand the risk as a commissioner. And therefore, I'm offended at the last statement because that is not how I was treated, and that is not what happened when I went up there to ask for that months ago. Because I know I went right to Rob Moore, stated the exact same thing. Then I went right to my assistant Lisa can verify all this, and that is what's ridiculous. Because I did try and find out this before we ever launched into the one with Victoria, because I wanted to see what had been done in the past, because I thought I would be brought along in the process so that I could see how it compares to previous stuff.
Going back to Commissioner's anecdotal, how he treats his own, which is personal, we need to know what has happened in the past, and we need to have that information in order to make informed decisions. If you are truly an executive that is a budget officer, wait, we have one of those, Denise. But if you are truly a paid executive that's making $100,000 a year, you, Commissioner Lee, do need to be informed.
I would
Actually, we make 119,444.
Yeah.
I knew that.
Merritt Fulmer, HR. I think I'm supposed to clarify that we have not included states in the past. And
Other states, is that what you're saying?
we have not included other states in, as comparables in the past. maybe a rare exception.
Wait, hold on, let's let her, let's do this
To my,
without it
to my
being
knowledge,
a debate.
and I've been involved in some level in our market studies. When did
Okay.
you start?
We can't let this meeting, let's do it
I've
in
been here for
turn.
23 years, and in that time, I am not aware.
Please.
Could you please?
Allow her to talk.
In that time, I maybe have been involved in market studies to some degree or another for about 19 or 20 of those years. And to my knowledge, we have not included matches from states. If we have, it's been in a rare capacity, maybe from other states. That's what I'm referring to. We have used the state of Utah before.
So you have all these market studies from the past, or the
well,
HR department has them? So that I
Some
can
of
look
them
them up
not,
and look at them.
some of them would be, okay, and it would depend on the position. Of course, maybe a higher level position. We may have looked at a state from time to time if there was not a match, but that is not at all our general practice, and nothing comes to my mind where we have gone out of state.
Okay, but the question is,
So-
you
so
have
Merritt, I
these,
have a
you have
question
these,
for you.
you have these market studies from the past, as far as we know, and the commissioners can come and look at these.
Some of them would be in storage. There are, according to the record, a criteria for how long we keep them. So I'm not 100% sure which ones we still have. Certainly back 20 years, we do not have. But
So, Merritt, my question to you is, why in June, when I came up to grab a copy or to actually take the binder?
someone else is talking to me.
I'm sorry, I can't hear.
Okay, Commissioner?
Yes. My question is then why in June, when I came to get a copy of that and look at it to review the most recent one, which was 4 years ago, did you not let me? You then said, oh, I got to go ask Cammie, and then I was denied access to it. Because this goes to the crux of the problem. Again, I've tried to get involved and tried to know, and what I hear from employees is every salary study has been only a benefit to HR. And the reality is if you look at the percentage of raise by department, this salary study does the exact same to the previous ones that have done. And so my problem is I wanted to see that so I could defend it, and yet I'm denied access. So, and then we just had the director just say that, well, no commissioner's denied access. Well, then I would like a copy of that on my desk for tomorrow morning when I return, please.
Okay, it's my understanding.
two.
I remember you coming up, and I did say I need to check with Cammie because the raw data,
Yeah, but I'm a commissioner. I'm allowed to see
and
everything in
then
there.
we did get that to you. I
you
believe that
let
we
me look at the
scanned
binder
it
in your
in and
office.
gave that to you.
No, that's not true.
Okay,
Otherwise, there would be a scanned email copy in my records.
okay. I mean, I definitely can clarify that. You're wanting the raw.
I want the last two. I want 100% of everything for the last two.
I want to see everything that they've had, not me, but I want you commissioners to see all of the past.
I got a question for Dave. On a retention schedule, we've had this conversation before. Where some are 7 years, some are, we keep data forever, right?
Correct.
Where does this fall? Is there, do you know what category this would fall under for retention?
I don't, I think we should look at that.
And we may have it even if it's,
We may have it past the retention schedule, even though we don't have.
if we still have the information, even though we're past the retention schedule, it is still information that we have.
And we may have it, I would have to verify how far back, either here or in records out at the jail. I want to guess, or I'm not 100% sure, I believe we have to keep back one study. I don't believe we are required to keep beyond the previous study. But like I said, that's
Well, it
just what
wouldn't
I'm
take us
thinking
long
right
to
now.
find out because
A year is not necessarily.
it wouldn't take us long to find out because we had this presented at a work session for the county 2 years ago, and Paul Jones created a legal opinion and actually presented us with a schedule. And so while Raphael is still there, Commissioner Lee actually needs the credit because it was him that made sure we had a retention schedule that was in compliance. It's also why we have a new email system that I wanted, because we now actually retain everything. Unfortunately, the county did not retain everything the way it should in the past. So while we're laying blame, we also need to give credit.
I believe we've traditionally erred on keeping things in HR longer than required. That's been my experience.
I'd hope so. Okay, well, we can work through that. Bona, did you have a comment?
Yeah, quickly, Ponacy Take, County Attorney's Office. Concerning the retention schedule and other documents that are kept beyond schedule, those are still subject to disclosure if they are requested under Granting.
Sure, absolutely. If we have them, even though we have a retention schedule, if we don't dispose of them after the retention schedule, and we have them, they're still subject to grandma and they're grammable. Absolutely. I'm not saying that as soon as the retention schedule's up, we go and shred all the documents. I don't think I mean.
I know, who are we,
Anyway.
Enron?
Okay. Robert, you've got to, hopefully we can get through this. We're way off the
Fast.
subject. Were we talking budgets and now
We're close.
It's all right. It's all right.
I'll be fast. I'm Robert Stevens, Provo.
Okay.
We've heard a lot of things that we never expected to hear in this meeting. You know, it would really be nice to know what are the obligations that are imposed upon us from the state of Utah, and then what has the county added to that over the years? It's my understanding that most regulations, they take what the state has given us,
Right.
and then we make it more restrictive. And it'd be really nice to be able to look at that and say, here's what we are obliged, and then here's what we've added onto that, and then to understand why. I know you guys are new, and there's been decades of commissioners in the past who have made all these regulations, but, you know, if we went around and had a poll, people in the county, and said, what's the $78 million supposed to be used for? I think we would get plain and simple things like roads, bridges, wastewater treatment systems, security, vital records, and so forth. And anything beyond that, we would all kind of wonder, well, why are we doing that? And is it really working? And is it time for a major reboot of the whole system? So it's really nice to have that document, and if you do have room in the budget to go and prepare that, you know, it would really be helpful for the rest of us to understand really what's going on, because having to fish through all your regulations, some I still don't have access, you know, it's just really difficult. Thank you very much.
Okay. So just for clarification on this with retention schedules, the state of Utah recognized that there was not a schedule in place, and documents were being held long or short or whatever, and some were shredding them quickly, so they didn't have them anymore, and so they put a retention schedule into effect. And if we do not adopt our own retention schedule, by default, we have to follow the state's retention schedule policy. So therefore, no matter what, you can't say, well, we just didn't know, we just shred all these documents. So one way or the other, we've adopted the state's retention schedule policy, and that's what we have in place. All right, well, it seems to me like we're back
Commissioner
to
Gray's original
the,
motion.
the original on, I feel that we don't have all the information. It's really hard to do budgeting when you're just looking at here and there. I would have liked to have had some discussion, but I'm kind of sensing that we should continue this till next week and get all the information before us. It'll be a long meeting. It'll just be one
I
of
would
those we go
also
through.
like to add one thing. I assume Brian Thompson's still there since I can't see. I'm sure it's a safe assumption.
Yes, I'm
as
here.
the clerk auditor, I would like him to fulfill in his role as an auditor and ask the internal audit team, why don't we do an evaluation of the last two, including this market study? That'd be a great audit for us to do. based on the last audit that turned up some irregularities. I think that would be a great audit.
So however many retentions, however many studies that we have, it'd be, if there's 2, if there's 4.
Audit the process, audit
Yeah.
all of it.
So noted.
Thank you.
Go ahead. Just don't take us to another area. I'm just kidding.
I know you're kidding, but that is what we need. And even if we can't find that information, I believe that if we can get a former commissioner to actually give that information for his recollection, of course, if we do not
We
have.
actually have it. It's in Merritt's office. I've seen it. I just
Oh,
haven't been
okay.
allowed to take it.
All right, but I would like to see going back to the 1990s. That is also needs to be included, not just stuff in 2000. Because again, it's where we are at, and all of that information is pertinent and a pertinence to everything.
Thank you. Where are we? Okay, we're back to,
So I actually think Commissioner Graves has made a motion to.
To continue.
Oh, sorry.
would you remake your motion, Commissioner Graves?
Yes, I move that we continue this item for 1 week.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to continue item number 13 on our agenda for 1 week. All in favor, say aye.
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 That passes 3-0. Okay. We do not need number 15 nor number 16, but we do need number 17 and 18.
At this time, Commissioner Lee, sorry for the interruption.
Yes.
I'm going to leave it in your very capable hands, you and Commissioner Ivy, and I will enjoy the sunshine and shorts while you guys are in 24-degree weather.
Okay, fair enough. So noted that
Thank
Commissioner
you.
Graves is leaving the meeting now.
Move that we strike regular agenda items number 15 and 16.
And suspending the rules, I'll second that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, that passes 2-0.
Move that we approve and set a date, time, and location for a closed meeting to discuss the character, professional competence, or physical or mental health of an individual or individuals for today's date at this location following the completion of the regular agenda.
And I'll second that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, that passes 2-0.
Move that we approve and set a date, time, and location for a closed meeting for a strategy session to discuss pending or reasonably imminent litigation for today's date at this location following the completion of the regular agenda.
And I'll second that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, that passes 2-0. At this time, we do have a work session. So if you'd like to come up, listen to a presentation on the Spanish Fork City River Bottoms Vision Project. You know what? And they were so good too, because when they called and said, I'd like to have this on as a work session, I told them this meeting could go a long, long time. I don't know how it could possibly go. And they said, we will come and sit and watch the, what'd you say? Was it theater or what?
Dave's a good economic development director. He brought snacks.
He brought snacks.
So we've been back there. Yeah, okay.
Just for the record, Dave, like, how long did you work at the county?
Just a few months. It's been a while.
Can you get up and tell us? Just for the record, I would like Dave Anderson's esteem from Spanish Fork City. I would like him to just step forward and tell him, let us know what he did at the county.
That's his option.
I'll touch on that.
Okay. Okay, go ahead.
Dave's a great economic development director for us at Spanish Fork City. And my name's Mike Mendenhall,
There we
Spanish
go.
Fork City Councilman.
Thank you.
In Spanish Fork, and thanks for having us today. Thanks for taking a little time. We're here to present some important stuff that Dave can go in a little bit of detail about. So I'll turn the time over to him in just a second. But I do want to, while I'm here in front of you, touch on a little bit different aspect that in the recent news media, I'm sure you guys are aware of. But the health, we've been working with your health department, with the county health department, for the past few months now. 2 years ago, we were awarded a grant in Spanish Fork from the Utah League of Cities and Towns and from Intermountain Healthcare with the sole purpose of trying to improve the try to improve the health of our citizens through being more active. That's a 3-year grant that we're in the second year of now. We were pleased in partnership with the county to learn that they piggybacked on our grant and received a grant of their own to come and spend some time and some resources focused specifically in South Utah County and in Spanish Fork. Marla Brenham with your county health department has come down recently and provided some QPR training to our department heads in Spanish Fork City, but also our employees. QPR stands for Question, Persuade, and Refer. Much like CPR is the play on it, but CPR takes care of the physical health of somebody until a professional arrives. The QPR program takes care of the mental health of somebody before a professional can step in. And so we've been through these couple of meetings with your officials, and it's been an eye-opener. The physical activity, the physical health of our citizens in Spanish Fork and in South Utah County are very important, near and dear to our hearts as leaders. But the mental health is just as important, and sometimes that gets forgot. The media story that I referenced, just to read you one line out of it, from the Daily Herald, between 2011 and 2015, the crude suicide rate among Utah youth aged 10 to 17 years increased by 136%, whereas the crude rate among U.S. youth aged 10 to 17 in the U.S. was 23.5%. So we're leading the way in a place we don't want to lead the way. So mental health, as we wrote that grant a couple years ago, we wrote it thinking of how we could use these funds to help the physical well-being of our citizens. It ended up, we rewrote that grant after a tragic loss of a teen in our city. A member of our youth city council, very active in our community and volunteerism and in our church, or in her church, and she succumbed to depression and suicide. We quickly rewrote that grant and said that out of the $75,000 per year that we were awarded, that we are going to portion a set amount of those funds, at least $10,000 a year, to focus on the mental health of our citizens and how we can get access, how they can get access, how we can help them as a government. And so I want to thank you from the county and your partnership in that effort. It's been great. Your county health department really does have some good resources that we're just beginning to share with the citizens of Spanish Fork and South Utah County as a whole, and it's already making a difference. People are talking about a problem that is sometimes frankly buried and not discussed, but we've shown a line on it now, and it's paying dividends. So we hope to come back and report some good news to you in a year of where we are at and now where we are by using your resources and your good people at the County Health Department. So thank you. Completely different topic that we came here to present to you today is called the River Bottoms Vision Project. Dave will tell you more about the specifics of where this is located in Spanish Fork, but I want to give you a little history of how the River Bottoms, what it means to me. Commissioner Ivey thinks Benjamin is God's country down there. I disagree that Palmyra is God's country because that's where I grew up. But in Palmyra, on one side of my family,
they're neighbors.
We're neighbors,
Yeah.
but
Things
there's
are always
some
better in the South.
There's some lines there,
You got
Commissioner.
fences that are tall, I
yeah,
guess, huh?
yeah. We were originally a fort down there in Palmyra. We know how to build
You're
walls.
going against Benjamin?
We were strong enough we didn't even need a fort. We could
That's
stand on our own.
That's really getting deep.
It's all good places. Benjamin, Lakeshore, Palmyra. I loved growing up down there. Grew up there until I was 12. The history of that part of my life, crazy enough, is that my family farm is where the county jail now sits. And so what once was the Gull family farm is now a county jail. So progress came to that area. I'm thankful social media wasn't back in the early 90s when that happened, because some people had some strong feelings about where that jail was going to go on North Spanish Fork Main Street, and that the family that was selling the ground to that, was selling everybody up a river. What's resulted decades later is Spanish Fork has got to be one of the safest places in the county with how many sheriffs eat lunch at Two Jacks and the burger joints. Good luck ever trying to rob a place in Spanish Fork around noon. And there might be problems here and there, but the problems that were stated that I remember as a young kid when that transaction went through of what people thought would happen to the area of, oh, now you have criminals, in a jail and everything else. Well, it's simply not true. You've got law enforcement in the area, and we appreciate, I know, as Spanish Fork City, having the county jail there on North Main Street. My history with the River Bottoms goes back further than that. I grew up when I was 12. I moved to the other side of the city. I haven't lived in the county, in Spanish Fork City, until I was married. 14 years ago. I grew up on both sides of Spanish Fork City and the county. When I moved to the other side, it was because my dad became the river commissioner. I'm the son of John Mendenhall, who's the river commissioner for Spanish Fork City. I'm the grandson of the previous river commissioner, and I'm the great-great-grandson of Wayne Francis that was the previous river commissioner. So 100 years of the commissioner of that river that watches the water come down from the Strawberry Valley project and comes into our valley to make it fertile and be dispersed to the farmers and the residents that is the lifeblood of South Utah County. So I grew up having a love for the river, for the area that it follows, which is the river bottoms. Hauled hay. I didn't think it was so pretty when I was 15 and had to haul hay off those fields, but now as I'm older, I think it's the most beautiful place in the world. And so as Spanish Fork City has and Dave can tell you more about that, fielded requests from people of talking about when they could annex, when they could become part of Spanish Fork City. We as civic leaders thought that it would be a good idea to try to engage all the landowners down there. 115 landowners and over 1,800 acres exists in the river bottoms that is located in the county between Spanish Fork and Salem. But Dave will tell you more specifics about this, what we're proposing to do. But in summary, what we're here to ask you for is your participation, your insight as well as a county in this study as it moves forward of what people would like to see in that area. People of Spanish Fork, people of Salem, but most importantly, the 114 property owners that own the property in the river bottoms and how best that might progress. So we thank you for your time again, and I'm going to turn it over to Dave to give you more detail. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman, thank you. Commissioners, thank you. Dave Anderson with Spanish Fork City. I enjoyed time that I spent working for Utah County as an intern. There's no lower rung on a ladder than that, but people treated me very respectfully. It was my first professional experience, so even though I was only here for a few months, it left a mark, and I'll always think I consistently do about lessons that I learned from great professionals that used to work at the county that have retired, and a lot of other people, and I'll just leave it at that. Again, great experience and something that I've benefited from tremendously. I appreciate Mr. Mendenhall's, our councilman's, introduction to the project that we're here to talk about. We talk about the river bottoms, and you can define that a few different ways, but in essence, it's about a 2,000 acre area. That's the river valley as it runs south of Spanish Fork, talking about the Spanish Fork River. Currently, I think almost exclusively cultivated, very fertile agricultural land, a little bit of floodplain, which I think adds to its, pardon me?
Is it a little bit?
Yeah, we could elaborate on that, certainly. Some characteristics that I think have made it what it is from a farming perspective over the years. And as such, something of an asset that, maybe is becoming in limited supply here in our valley. Spanish Fork City is a community that has a very, very strong connection as relative to our identity with the city's agrarian past, having been the home in the past of multiple livestock auctions, a workforce that in one way or another was tied to agricultural activities for a very, very long time. And there's certainly a concern that we're going to lose that connection somehow. This area that we're talking about, it is still in Utah County, which is principally why I think we're here today to speak with you. However, it's been a part of Spanish Fork City's annexation policy for decades. And for those decades, Spanish Fork City has planned simply that those lands would be agriculturally used. And it's been that simple. We have them identified on our general plan as exclusive agricultural. That's the kind of technical designation that we have for what we're talking about. But that being said, I know that over the course of the past 20 years, and I've had personal experience for 10 years now, with the requests that have been made to annex different portions of this area, and those requests come because people want to develop in the river bottoms. And up till now, frankly, through just different discussions that we've had kind of offline with council people and our city administrators and different things like that, those proposals have fizzled because it's been simply expressed that the city really isn't interested in anything other than seeing those lands continue to be farmed. Frankly, that's how our general plan reads today still, as I had mentioned. Agricultural uses. However, we're at a point where the pressure has reached a certain level, and as we've observed other areas, we've come to realize that simply saying no probably is not a very good way to preserve or protect what we view as an asset, the river bottoms. So our proposal is to take a more proactive approach to, first of all, do kind of a gut check to see if indeed the real desire of the community, taking into account all of the different stakeholders that are involved, that is property owners, neighbors, community residents, elected officials, and so forth, to see if we really still are committed to this notion of keeping a significant part of that area open and active agriculturally. And if so, then to try to determine how to really make that happen, what tools can be employed so that, again, all of the different stakeholders can be satisfied in such a way that it remains what it is today. To that end, we've contracted with a very capable consultant, Logan Simpson Design Incorporated, who, for them, this won't be a unique project at all. They're very experienced in working with communities that are grappling with this farming versus residential development kind of an issue that is really at the heart of where we're at. And we'll be starting work with them in January to develop a vision for the river bottoms. It's very likely that that vision will be very similar to what I described earlier, that we'll continue to plan for that area to be used agriculturally. There's certainly potential that changes would come about through this process as well. And we invite the county, in as much as any of you as elected officials would like to participate. Frankly, I think it'd be very helpful if we could have, at the appropriate times, some of your staff involved, given that this land still is in the county, and frankly, the majority of it's probably going to be in your jurisdiction for a while to come. And we'd simply like to be on the same page and be able to work cooperatively towards one unified goal for the eventual use of this area. So that's why we're here, just with that invitation. I've got a real brief handout I can provide as well. Be happy to answer any questions that you have now or later. And certainly we can just simply circle back as well as we get more information about meeting times and that sort of a thing.
Question for you that came up as you were speaking there. In your annexation declaration, is there any crossover annexation declaration with other cities?
There's not. We have agreements with all of our neighbors that.
Okay. Yeah.
So.
That could be problematic. I was just wondering.
It certainly could.
All right. And so you said January 1st or first part of January is when you'd like to start?
Exactly.
And I feel like the county would love to be involved in this process. At what level are you thinking the county can be involved? Can we appoint people to be there, to be a part of it? Maybe ourselves as well to come in and out? What's kind of your thought on that?
That's frankly what we had in mind, yeah. Yeah, for example, somebody from Public Works, somebody from Community Development, and then any elected officials, you guys would be welcome at any stakeholder meetings certainly that we have. We'll probably have some steering groups as well. And if you wanted to just simply let us know, perhaps via me, who you'd like to have be involved, I'll make sure that they're given adequate lead time on invitations to
Is there a
meetings and
lamit?
that sort of thing.
I don't know if, I'm sure there's a limit, but I'm just kind of fishing
You know,
for
we'd
you're at.
We'd welcome your thoughts
Okay.
on that, certainly.
All right.
I know personally this is something I want to be involved in. This is my neighborhood and
Yeah.
important issues to me, so.
Yeah, I would think so.
That's it. Thank you. I know you've had a long meeting. Like I said, we'd be happy to provide any other information that you might.
Well, I think this is great because it's a process in which, you know, you get a lot of people involved, and it's not an easy one. You know, there's a lot of feelings and there's a lot of visions on there and which directions to go and a lot of pressures that come. And it's not going to be unique. It's not going to be unique to just Spanish Fork. I mean, it's going to be all over. We're feeling those pressures everywhere.
Yep.
So this is, so I personally applaud, you know, looking to that. Keep a lot of good notes. And maybe as it comes to other parts of the county too, that we can replicate some of that as well. And as we try to move forward, because it's here, it's on us. It's not something we're looking to the future with. It's going to happen now. So thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for coming. Okay, we will move into public comments. Is there any public comments? Oh, nope, he's walking out. I thought he was. Robert?
Mama, sorry to be up here again. I have some comments, though, on the discussion of master planning in the county. You know, I have to ask myself religiously and historically, are the commissioners in the past who served here, are they prophets or were they prophets? And what's going to happen if we continue what we're doing now? Will the county turn out to be overrun and massively, you know, just have massive neighborhoods with no ability to go sustain anyone in a total disaster? You know, Brigham Young organized hundreds of cities. I think it's in the neighborhood of 400 or 500 in the Intermountain West over a course of a couple of decades. Why didn't he abandon that city of Zion plat, which gave every homeowner an acre and a quarter? We're in a situation now we like to use the force of government to go and preserve our green areas, but what is being produced that's actually going to feed us in times of disaster? You know, I thought a lot about that 1 1/4 acre parcels, and really was it inspired? And I firmly believe it was. A person who owns a 1 1/4 acres is more likely to go and plant an orchard, to have a garden that is sizable and to be able to feed not only their families but their neighbors. When you get into the 5 1/4 acre parcels that I've been developing, you're in a situation where the county values of the land at $17,000, $18,000 an acre, and then it's going to be $100,000 to $120,000 of improvements. Most normally, a homeowner or developer is going to consider that the lot price is between a quarter and a third of the whole. So you're easily up to $4,000, $5,000, $6,000. In some cases, we have people who are building in the $800,000 range. That's the 1%. And what are they going to do? Well, chances are they're just going to have alfalfa. It's going to feed some cows. But in times of disaster, should the imports stop, which is a possibility, alfalfa's not going to feed humans. I think with a 1 1/4 acre parcel, a master planning, a revisit around that original idea that homeowners are more likely to go out there with a shovel, with a hoe, with a horse, with an animal, or even with a tiller, and that's sufficient. They don't need to bring in major farm equipment. But should a major disaster happen, I think that the 1 1/4 acre lots are more likely to go produce the food requirements for a growing area. And I'd like you to go reconsider that. And then I've got lots of documents on this from historians who have been researching it and so forth. And I'm convinced that's the way to go. And I don't know why we lost our way here in the county and in the state. It seemed to happen about 1905. But anyway, I hope you revisit that, because you have to ask yourself, what's the county supposed to look like in 10, 15, 50 years from now? And what do you want your legacy to be? Do you want to free the peoples so they can have affordable land, and and a man and a woman can just go and get to work and produce and build their house on a reasonable price lot? Or do you want to make it unaffordable where we all end up in condos and apartments for our children? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. I know one thing, I don't consider myself a prophet, nor, not unless it's an armchair looking back prophet, but, 2020 vision's always in reverse. But thank you. Okay, any other comments? All right, we'll, if there's no other public comments, we'll close and move into our closed meetings. Thank you.
I just gotta run the restroom. I'll be right back.